The film begins with a family sitting in the sun and loosening up under the warm sun. Beams Bill and his new spouse Kim are watching their children Brad and Sunrise, who are swimming in a children pool. Bill tells his child Brad not to irritate his sister. Be that as it may, the kid gets upset and shouts that they are not kin while the step-kin are sprinkling. Brad shows First Light his egg roll and believes her should show him hers. Abruptly, the guardians hear the sound of Brad shouting, and when they hurry to him they see a cut on his finger. The scene then, at that point, movements to quite a long while later, where Sunrise is currently a young person. She is a representative for a Christian restraint bunch. Considered the commitment the bunch urges little fellows and young ladies to safeguard their virginity until they find somebody with whom they need to spend the rest of their life. During her discourse she locks her look on a person named Toby, and when the discourse is over, Sunrise meets with her companions Alicia and Phil. They then, what's more, acquaint her with Toby, and the two have all the earmarks of being immediately drawn to each other. When First Light gets back, we see that her mom's well-being is weakening and her dad is taking care of her. Later, while she's cleaning her teeth in the washroom, somebody startlingly approaches from behind, and it ends up being her sibling Brad. The following morning, where enters her school, where she is tormented by others for being a restraint promoter. Ryan, who enjoys her attempts to move toward her, be that as it may, is quickly impeded by one of the menaces. Later in the class, the understudies find out about the regenerative framework. However, since the school is moderate, the female confidential part is shrouded in the books. Ryan asks the educator for what valid reason contemplating female conceptive organs is thought of untouchable, yet male regenerative organs are not. First Light then lifts her hand and answers that ladies are different since they are brought into the world with a feeling of unobtrusiveness. Hearing this, the whole class starts to giggle at her, yet Toby goes to bat for her. Also, says he concurs with that assertion. After school daybreak and her companions go to the theater just to find that the film they need to see is adults only. In this way, they wind up watching a children film and keeping in mind that their companions make out. Daybreak and Toby keep on gazing clumsily at one another. The scene then, at that point, movements to Brad, who is unwinding with his sweetheart Melanie. When Melanie inquires what has been going on with his harmed finger, he tells her that Daybreak bit it when they were kids. Later, where and her companions visit a lake that is a famous make outside in their neighborhood, while the others swim. First Light and Toby spend some time alone together and examine their virtue, where says she's a virgin, while Toby professes to have had intercourse a year prior and is still battling with the responsibility. First Light then solaces him, saying that he is more grounded than any time in recent memory, since even after his encounters he has had the option to stay away from his salacious allurements. That evening, Daybreak is lying in bed fantasizing about wedding Toby. She then, at that point, contacts herself. Be that as it may, rapidly feels regretful and stops herself. The following morning, Sunrise shows up late to school, yet this time she pays no consideration regarding Toby. She later calls him from the storage space and communicates her worry about her appreciation for him. Toby shares his warmth for her too, and First Light proposes they quit hanging out in request to keep their brains unadulterated and not surrender to enticement at home. First Light here's Brad and Melanie contending with each other after Melanie leaves. Daybreak attempts to talk with her sibling, yet Brad claims that every last bit of her restraint is a deception and that she has been saving herself for him. He then asks his stepsister to get physically involved with him, which disdain on and makes her leave in outrage. Annoyed with the episode, she calls Toby, and welcomes him to hang out at the lake. They then admit to each other that they have been envisioning one another. Undressed, the two leap into the lake and start kissing, yet First Light asks him not to go any further, helping him to remember their immaculateness. Following that, the two go to a close-by bistro and envelop themselves by a sweeping. They begin kissing once more, however. Daybreak becomes awkward and attempts to persuade them to return, discontent with Daybreak's reaction. Toby begins to get truly forceful with her. He then unintentionally pushes Weir's head into the rock, taking her out subsequently. Now, while Daybreak is oblivious, Toby attempts to compel himself on her, yet he abruptly shouts in torment. Daybreak is confounded by all that is continuing and finds blood on his hand. Toby cries with sickening apprehension as he sees his egg roll has tumbled to the ground. He then leaves the place shouting, while Daybreak sits in shock, handling what simply happened that evening. Sunrise ponders Toby, who could have been her better half, and replays his shouts. In her mind, in a snapshot of fury, she tears away the marriage banners from her wall. The next day she's welcome to give one more discourse at the commitment meeting. Anyway, Daybreak turns out to be restless to such an extent that she just murmurs a couple of odd words thereafter. Ryan approaches her and inquires as to whether she is all right. He then drives her home and inquires her out on the town. However, she rejects and leaves. Inevitably, Ryan feels dumb and again gets back to her home. Anyway, he's defied by Brad, who punches him hard and cautions him to remain away from First Light. Still uncomfortable over the attack, Sunrise chooses to return to the cavern to manage her injury, yet she shouts with sickening dread when she sees a little crab slithering on Toby's penis. Sunrise accepts she is presently a messy lady, so she tosses her virtue ring down a bluff. Furthermore, when she arrives at home, she cautiously eliminates the sticker from her life structures. Course reading. First Light is shocked when she sees the itemized graph of female genitalia. Interestingly, in the wake of doing some exploration on the web, she comes to the end that she has vagina. Dentata. It is a people legend where a lady's vagina is professed to contain teeth, and assuming they participate in sexual get in touch with it could bring about hurt, weakening, or passing for the man involved. The following day, Sunrise goes to a gynecologist to figure out what's going on with her. She illuminates the specialist that she wishes to get looked at to guarantee that her body isn't going through any transformation. The specialist guarantees her that she's encountering womanhood and that no decisions would be passed on her sexual life. When he understands First Light has never been to a gynecologist before, he takes benefit of her and attacks her under the misrepresentation of doing a test. He asks her to inhale through the agony and is promptly grasped by something. The man turns her around, trying to pull his hand out, and when he in the end delivered First Light, seen that his fingers have been cut away, Sunrise shouts out in dread as the two of them are sickened by what simply occurred. Returning, Daybreak experiences a police official driving Toby's vehicle, who orders her to stop her bicycle on the street. She then chooses to get back to the lake to check, assuming there's an odd thing going on. When she shows up, where sees as the cops conveying up Toby's body back at home, where's evil mother, Kim, out of nowhere falls on the floor. Sadly, her sexist stepbrother Brad and his sweetheart disregard her and proceed to engage in sexual relations while she lies on the floor. And some other time, when Sunrise views as her mother in such a condition, she promptly surges her to the clinic. Subsequently, Sunrise stirs in the medical clinic in the wake of encountering a bad dream, and her father sends her home to rest. As she gets back, she tracks down Brad and his yet again sweetheart, contending, irritated by This she heads to Ryan's and illuminates him. That she should transform herself into the police first light lets him know that she is almost killed 2 individuals since she has teeth. Down there anyway. Ryan doesn't stand what she's attempting to say, imagining that Daybreak is stressed. He consoles her and gives her some drug, proposing that it will unwind her. In the following scene, Sunrise is in the shower while Ryan orchestrates the room with candles and plays loosening up music. Minutes later, Ware emerges and begins looking for her garments, expressing that she plans to go to the police headquarters. Ryan, on the other hand, illuminates her that the pills could make her woozy, so she ought to go tomorrow. First light then, at that point, pours wine on herself. Also, lays on Ryan, who guarantees her that he is consistently there for her. He then, at that point, jumps on top of her and attempts to have a minimal fun with her. Right now, Daybreak additionally concedes her assent and they end up having intercourse without her teeth included. This time, in the meantime, the specialists see as a uncommon construction in Toby's body. They have no thought what it is, on the grounds that it resembles a shark or eel tooth. However, a test affirms it has a place with a human somewhere else. The gynecologist is in a medical procedure reattaching